want to show you today the Toyota Prius. This is a hybrid vehicle. Now, a hybrid vehicle runs on both electricity and a gasoline motor, two sources of power. This particular vehicle is what's called a parallel hybrid. Now, a parallel hybrid is one where the electric motor runs the wheels, but the gasoline motor can also run the wheels. They run it parallel to each other, as opposed to a series where you have just an electric motor running the wheels, and the gasoline motor has to create electricity to run the wheels. Now, what's really neat about this thing is it has a unique transmission. It's a constantly variable transmission. It also has an electric motor and generator assembly that when you're driving down the road, if you're driving, the electric motor is running the wheels and pushing the wheels, but if you take your foot off the gas, it actually generates electricity to recharge the batteries. It has on it an inverter system. The most important thing to remember about a hybrid is that it runs on very high voltage. Anywhere from 200 to 700 volts and more can be in that particular system, depending on the system. So the first rule of thumb is wherever you see orange wires, see those orange wires back there? Point to them for me. Wherever you see orange wires, you have to be careful because those are the high voltage wires, and they run all over the vehicle. They come directly from the battery pack. So the inverter creates voltage for us to make the system run. We have the gasoline motor. It's an Atkinson motor in this particular case to generate electricity for us, and then we turn around and drive the wheels with either the motor or the electricity. The neat part about it is this vehicle idles at a stoplight without the gasoline engine running. Now, because this system is running on a very, very high voltage, it's important that we be very careful and safe when we're working with the system. We're going to show you how to do that a little bit, but you need a lot of training to be able to operate and work on the vehicle properly as a technician. Okay? One of the things that most people need to know about is what's called emergency response guides. These response guides are available on the internet from the manufacturers, and they tell you exactly how to disable the high voltage system in the vehicle. Okay, guys, we saw the inverter underneath the hood of the vehicle. This is mounted on the vehicle. It's cooled with engine coolant because it gets very warm, and it's kind of the brains of the whole system. You take the cover off, what we see underneath is a whole bunch of electronic circuits. And you notice I'm not touching anything here because we've got three big capacitors here. And you'll see on some vehicles that are hybrids, like the Long Beach buses, Long Beach Transit buses, they have big ultra capacitors. They don't use battery packs at all. So those capacitors store electricity. In this particular case, it's to allow us to accelerate without discharging the battery thoroughly, just to get away from a light. So it gives you the extra power you need to accelerate. You also notice it has orange wires on it. What do the orange wires mean? High voltage, good. Extremely high voltage. We've got to be careful of that. And in fact, we need to disable that high voltage before we go any further working on the vehicle. You'll never take the cover off this thing. It's replaced as a unit. We took it off today just so you could see it. This is the battery pack. Now, it isn't the same battery pack that is in every single one because it's changed a little bit on the Prius. And, of course, other hybrids have their own battery packs. But this battery pack, which is mounted in the back of the vehicle, we'll show you in a minute, contains a whole bunch of cells that are added together in series to come up with the voltage that the system runs on. This runs anywhere from 200 to 700 volts. Obviously, it's very, very dangerous. So they have very carefully covered. They have warnings on it, and you have to disable this pack and let it discharge. Remember the capacitors that were in the inverter? It takes 5 to 10 minutes sometimes for them to discharge when you shut the system off. Now, in the back of the vehicle, we have the battery pack, and this is it right here. It's the same as what we saw on the table. It's all mounted in here, and it has a quick disconnect on it to disconnect the power. We also have what we call the house battery or the auxiliary battery. This is the one that starts the vehicle up. If your vehicle turns on with the key and it lights up, then we can turn on the battery pack and begin to charge or run the vehicle. But without that battery, it won't work. Now, in addition to this, we also have, as I mentioned earlier, our quick disconnect. What I need is a volunteer to go ahead and pull this quick disconnect for us and show us how to disable that. Would you like to do that? Great, thank you. Now, in order to do this, we have to wear gloves that are rated to 600 volts, and you actually have to test them to make sure that they're safe. Okay? Go ahead and test it. Now, when you blow them up and you squeeze them a little bit, it'll tell you whether or not there's any leaks in them. If there's a leak, you could have a problem. Put the gloves on, and we should also have safety glasses on. And once we get our gloves and our safety glasses, all we need to do is reach in, flip the lever down, and pull out the pin and show everybody what it looks like. Okay? Now, every manufacturer's vehicle has some sort of disconnect system. Some of them want you to disconnect the battery before you disconnect this plug. Again, the emergency responder guide will show you exactly what you need to do. To reactivate the battery, once we've done our service work that we want to do, we could pull the battery pack out and so on. We've waited our 10 minutes and then worked on the vehicle. To reactivate it, all we have to do is put our connector back in. So go ahead and do that.